know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America. Welcome to the program, and thanks so much for tuning in. Today, President Joe Biden gets a major victory. Meanwhile, American retail giant Walmart stuns DEI supporters. Over the next few minutes, we'll take you through it all, but first, the headlines. President-elect Donald Trump's team signs a memorandum of understanding with the White House, allowing the transition of power to actually take place. Now, this will allow Trump's team to coordinate directly with federal agencies and access classified documents. Mexico accuses the United States of making the weapons that are used by drug cartels. This after Donald Trump threatened to impose a 25% tariff on all goods imported from Mexico, which would violate the U.S.-Mexico Free Trade Agreement. Ukraine launches a corruption probe into a local weapons manufacturer after finding over 100,000 mortar shells faulty. Though the ammunition was in fact made in Ukraine, Kyiv admits that it was funded by aid given by NATO members. China threatens New Zealand with consequences if it joins the AUKUS pact. AUKUS is a trilateral security partnership between the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia to promote a free and open Indo-Pacific region. And Nigeria's military carries out airstrikes in the Lake Chad region, killing dozens of suspected terrorists. This after neighboring Chad accuses Nigeria of harboring Boko Haram terrorists on its soil. We begin in the Middle East, where President Joe Biden has secured a major diplomatic win after getting Israel and Lebanon to agree to a ceasefire. Now, in a joint effort with French President Emmanuel Macron, President Biden has convinced Israel and Hezbollah to end the 14 months of fighting.
Today, I have some good news to report from the Middle East. I just spoke with the Prime Minister of Israel and Lebanon. I'm pleased to announce that their governments have accepted the United States proposal to end the devastating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. I want to thank President Macron of France for his partnership in reaching this moment. For nearly 14 months, a deadly conflict raged across the border that separates Israel and Lebanon. A conflict that began the day after the October 7 attack by Hamas on Israel. Hours later, at 2 a.m. in the morning, Hezbollah and other terrorist organizations backed by Iran attacked Israel in support of Hamas. Let's be clear, Israel did not launch this war. The Lebanese people did not seek that war either, nor did the United States.
President Macron also lauded the commander-in-chief's efforts and urged Israel and Hezbollah to work out their differences with the new ceasefire in place.
I wanted to salute the ceasefire deal agreed today between Israel and Lebanon. It's the result of efforts undertaken over long months with the Israeli and Lebanese authorities, in close cooperation with the United States under the impetus of President Joe Biden. This ceasefire needs to be respected in the long term. In order to restore the Lebanese people's security, the Israeli people's security, permit the safe return of displaced people from these two countries to their homes, and therefore allow the restoration of the sovereignty of Lebanon.
Now, here's what we know about the latest ceasefire. Over the next 60 days, both Hezbollah and Israel will withdraw from southern Lebanon. The Iran-backed group will move north of the Litani River, which is 20 miles away from the Israel-Lebanon border, and at least 5,000 Lebanese troops will be deployed in southern Lebanon, who will ensure that Hezbollah doesn't return to the region. And the United States, France, and the United Nations peacekeeping force will monitor the implementation of the ceasefire. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has threatened Hezbollah against violating the ceasefire conditions. Now, after securing a peace deal between Israel and Hezbollah, President Biden turned towards Gaza and promised to ensure a similar deal between Israel and Hamas.
And Hamas has refused for months and months to negotiate a good faith ceasefire and a hostage deal. And so now Hamas has a choice to make. Their only way out is to release the hostages, including American citizens, which they hold. In the process, bring an end to the fighting, which would make possible a surge of humanitarian relief. Over the coming days, the United States will make another push with Turkey, Egypt, Qatar, Israel, and others to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza. With the hostages released and the end of the war without Hamas in power, that becomes possible.
Once heavily criticized for his Middle East policy, President Joe Biden has delivered a ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon and is now working towards peace in Gaza as he completes his final days in office. And after the ceasefire deal, Hamas has now informed mediators in Egypt, Qatar, and Turkey that it too is ready for peace. However, some questions still remain. For example, how long will the ceasefire last? Will Hamas release the hostages, and will there be any compensation for the millions of civilians who have been affected by this war? And moving to the United States, President-elect Donald Trump's team is reportedly considering talking directly to North Korean dictator Kim Jong Un. Reports say the dialogue will be pursued with hopes of reducing the risk of armed conflict between the two nations. Donald Trump's team believes that direct talks with the president-elect will break the ice with the North Korean dictator. However, the policy discussions are currently fluid, and the incoming commander-in-chief is yet to make a decision on the matter. Donald Trump will inherit a growingly tense situation with Pyongyang when he takes office next January. It's important to note President Joe Biden tried to start talks with North Korea with no preconditions. Kim Jong Un, however, ignored his outreach.
I welcome the opportunity. We welcome the opportunity of our allies to initiate dialogue with the Democratic Republic of Korea. So I've said many times, we're open to dialogue ourselves at any time, but without preconditions with the DPRK.
Now, instead, the North Korean leader expanded his missile arsenal and strengthened ties with Russia, helping Vladimir Putin in waging war against Ukraine.
Putin has brought 11,000 North Korean troops to Ukraine's borders. This contingent may grow to 100,000. While some European leaders think about, some elections or something like this at Ukraine's expense, Putin is focused on winning this war.
At the very beginning of the special military operation, the esteemed comrade president of the State Affairs Kim Jong Un gave an order for us to unswervingly and powerfully support and assist the Russian army and the Russian people in their sacred war, without looking back.
Now, reports say Donald Trump's initial goal will be to reestablish basic engagement with Kim Jong Un before moving to precise policy aims. During his re-election campaign, the president-elect hinted that he would, in fact, pursue direct engagement with the dictator while bragging about his personal relationship with him.
A lot of times the press would say he gets along with Kim Jong Un, North Korea. He has a lot of nuclear weapons. I got along with him great. You were never in danger with me as your president. It's a good thing to get along, not a bad thing.
During his first term, Donald Trump met Kim Jong Un first in Singapore, then in Vietnam, and even in a village on the inter-Korean border. Donald Trump then became the first U.S. president in history to enter North Korea when he briefly crossed the border.
When I did it, and I was really being tough, and so was he, and we would go back and forth, and then we fell in love, okay? No, really. He wrote me beautiful letters.
Now it remains to be seen if, in fact, Kim Jong Un, who is yet to comment on Donald Trump's election victory, would be willing to have an open dialogue with the president-elect to lower tensions. And staying in the United States, Vice President Kamala Harris has kept a low profile since her loss to President-elect Donald Trump. In fact, she's been on a week-long Hawaiian retreat as her party grapples with the fallout from the election. However, the vice president has now reemerged with a Thanksgiving message to her supporters, and she has vowed that the fight is far from over. Here's more on the VP's next steps.
After a stunning electoral loss to Donald Trump, Vice President Kamala Harris has re-emerged. For weeks, Harris retreated from public view, spending time in Hawaii at a $1,300 a night luxury property. The 5-bedroom villa, owned by a scion of the Mandavi wine family, included complimentary bottles of wine. A detail that critics were quick to seize upon after Harris's subdued 28-second Thanksgiving video message, which has raised eyebrows.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
Bleary-eyed and visibly weary, Harris sought to inspire resilience in the face of failure. "Have you been drinking?" actor Kevin Sorbo quipped in a reply. Another commenter snarked, "Why would you release a video in which she's this drunk?" While the message struck some as hollow, coming on the heels of a $1.5 billion campaign, electoral votes showed that Harris not only lost the popular vote, but failed to win a single swing state. And then came Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, to the vice president's rescue. Jean-Pierre dismissed concerns about the optics, declaring the vacation was good for Harris.
Does it look bad for the vice president to go to Hawaii while DNC staffers are just wondering what they're going to do for work?
The vice president has taken time off to go spend time with her family. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think she deserves some time to be with her family and to have some downtime. She has worked very hard over the last 4 years, and her taking a couple of days to be with her family, good for her. Good for her.
Now, not just the billion-dollar fund, but even her conspicuous absence from President Biden's post-election donor gala, nicknamed the Losers Party, has fueled speculation about her commitment to the party's future. At the November 22nd gala held in the White House's East Room, Biden tried to strike a jovial tone. "Good evening, everyone, and don't jump in the pool," he joked to a subdued audience. Despite musical performances and heartfelt toasts, the event was sparsely attended, with many top donors reportedly skipping out of embarrassment, with Harris's campaign spending becoming a particular point of contention.
Jill and I are hosting this dinner tonight for a very simple reason. Say thank you. Thank you to so many dear friends. We began this journey to redeem the soul of the nation and to find the light in the darkness. Jill and I never could have gotten to where the White House has become without you. Serving as President of the United States has been the honor of my life. But while our time in office is coming to an end, our cause endures. That's because of the history of the journey of America. America, the America of our dreams, is calling us to stay engaged, to never give up, to keep going, to keep the faith.
While Democrats insist that Harris is regrouping for a potential run in 2028, her loss has cast doubt on her political future. Harris's absence from Washington during a time of crisis, including heightened nuclear tensions with Russia, has not gone unnoticed, with Jean-Pierre defending her right to downtime. As Harris steps back into the public eye, her challenge is clear: to rebuild trust in the wake of a humiliating defeat and prove she's more than a figurehead for a campaign that fell spectacularly short. Thanksgiving may bring her a brief reprieve, but the road ahead is fraught with political peril.
And continuing in the United States, retail giant Walmart says it is reversing course on diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI initiatives amid heavy pressure from conservative groups. With this decision, the world's biggest retailer has joined a growing list of American companies to roll back their DEI policies over the last year. The move has also made Walmart the largest employer in North America to step back from DEI commitments. This means the company will drop its quotas from giving contracts to suppliers largely owned by women, veterans, minorities, and LGBTQ+ community members. Walmart will also abandon a 5-year, $100 million racial equity center, which was set up in the aftermath of the police killing of George Floyd back in 2020. The retail giant will also leave a prominent LGBTQ+ rights campaign that tracks the treatment for community members and reviews funding and participation for pride events. Moreover, Walmart will remove some LGBTQ+ products from its shelves, including chest binders intended for youth going through gender change.
We've been on a journey and know we aren't perfect, but every decision comes from a place of wanting to foster a sense of belonging, to open doors to opportunities for all our associates, customers, and suppliers, and to be a Walmart for everyone.
The company's decision appears to be a big gain for conservative activists who perceive such progressive programs as woke policies. Anti-DEI activists increased attacks on corporate America following a Supreme Court ruling last year which ended the consideration of race as part of college admissions. Since then, conservative political commentator Robbie Starbuck, who actually talked Walmart into rolling back the DEI policies, has been calling out companies on social media. Meanwhile, right-wing groups have also filed court cases against corporations targeting their workplace initiatives and hiring processes that prioritize marginalized groups. Many of these cases were led by America First Legal, a right-wing group led by Donald Trump's incoming Deputy White House Chief of Staff, Stephen Miller.
And if you look at a lot of those topical areas, civil rights, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, it all adds up to a vision from President Trump to not necessarily to reduce federal power and reduce the federal role in American society, but simply to concentrate a lot of that power that now is distributed out across the federal government into the White House and make the president almost a much more, and his top staff, a much more day-to-day manager of how the federal government implements policy and inputs controls throughout levels of government and when it comes to regulating the private sector.
According to an Ipsos Washington Post poll, 6 in 10 Americans actually believe that implementing DEI policies is actually a good thing, as they promote underrepresenting groups and anti-bias training. However, with renowned companies like Walmart, Ford Motor, Harley Davidson, Lowe's, and Boeing now rolling back these initiatives, fears of an anti-woke wave are gaining momentum. And finally, Thanksgiving travel is taking a frigid turn as an Arctic blast sweeps across the United States. Experts predict that over 196 million Americans will face freezing temperatures, dangerous wind chills, and heavy snow from the Rockies to the East Coast. Now, with approximately 80 million people traveling for the holiday, the Arctic blast will affect flights and road travel for millions of Americans through the weekend. Our final report has more.
Thanksgiving Day is one of the most cherished holidays in the United States. The national holiday is usually about the warmth of family, friends, and good food. But this year, millions of Americans are trading that warmth for the bone-chilling grip of an Arctic blast. On November 28, when Thanksgiving is going to be celebrated, America will witness a frosty adventure. And it all begins in the northern Rockies, where an Arctic cold front is gearing up to freeze nearly half the country. The winds howling through Montana, Idaho, and Seattle have already plummeted the temperatures. And by Friday, the Midwest will feel the sting, with several regions like the Dakota Sisters, Minnesota and Wisconsin already grappling with below freezing temperatures. And by the weekend, the East Coast will be shivering under the winter's icy embrace. The US National Weather Agency warns that this isn't just an average cold snap. In places like the Dakotas, the wind chill could reach a staggering minus 40 degrees Celsius.
For me, it's family's very important over everything, because family will always be there for you. So, you do what you have to do to make it happen, even if I had to spend 2 hours driving after I missed my first flight. I'm going to make it happen to go see the family.
Not just travel discomfort, but the chill brings more than that. It brings danger. Frostbite and hypothermia are serious risks, and travelers are being urged to carry winter survival kits. Rain, snow and icy winds could cause delays on highways and at airports. And starting Friday, western New York could see a snowstorm of epic proportions, with knee-deep snow expected to bury places like Buffalo and Syracuse.
We are traveling early to get to Delaware, and I think we are avoiding some crowds while traveling early, and then we will be flying back on Friday. So I'm not sure if we'll be missing crowds there, but we'll see what happens. It's just about seeing the family and being able to just be with family, because that's what Thanksgiving is about. Yeah.
As the Arctic air lingers into early December, it serves as a stark reminder that nature is unpredictable. And sometimes it likes to make a statement. So this Thanksgiving, as you bundle up and brace for the cold, remember to stay safe, stay warm, and may your holiday be as heartwarming as a second helping of pie.
That's our show for today. We certainly thank all of you for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you right back here again tomorrow. Thanks again, everyone, for watching. From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.
Hello and welcome to Fast and Factual. My name is Utsav Parekh and here are the top stories of the day. Israel and Hezbollah have accepted a ceasefire in Lebanon after months of war. The ceasefire